Hetapu, Assalamu alaikum, Namaste, Haru Nefer. This is Qesankh Keperu with another exciting video for you. And in this video, we're going to talk about Lil Nas X is pregnant. But before I do, I want you to hit the like button on this video. If this is your first time to my channel, welcome. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications on when I go live and when I upload recorded videos. If you want to learn more about my spiritual teachings, I do have free ebooks for you. You can scroll down below, click on any one of the links, and download the ebook and start reading it today. If you want to know a little more about my spiritual teachings, you can become a Patreon supporter. You can support us at the $1, $5, or $20 level. Exclusive access to instructional videos on the esoteric, videos that will teach you how to take proper breathing, videos that will be able to put together magical and contact the ancestors, contact a spirit for your protection, and also videos that will show you how to do self-hypnosis so you can get rid of that smoking habit or program yourself to go to the gym. And if you are a $20 supporter at the Osirian level, you'll get all your oracle readings for free. So become a Patreon supporter. Last but not least, share this video with family and friends so we can get the revolution started. Haru Nefer. So let's get right into this. Don't know if you've seen what's going on social media, but I guess Lil Nas X is now pregnant. Interesting, you know. Let's take a quick look at the photo before I share my perspective on this. And there you have it. Obviously, it's some type of makeup, that was used. But the interesting thing about this is this works well as publicity for him in terms of shock value. So we know his camp is looking to get as much press as possible. And things like this are kind of interesting and exciting, to his fans. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. Enough of that. Let's get out of that. Now, obviously some things are done, like I said, for shock value, but there's more going on with Lil Nas X than meets the eye. And this is something I've been saying for a long time. I said this years ago, that the Black characters in films are being effeminized. They're being toned down in terms of their masculinity, and it's slow. And many in the African-American community were like, oh, no, you're crazy. What are you talking about? And I specifically pointed out Black Panther, how although some people were saying, oh, he looks very authoritative, very regal, I said, well, no, he's very feminized. He's not very masculine, and they took away all the aspects of his intellect as well, because he's supposed to be a genius on par with Tony Stark. And people at the time didn't believe what I was saying. But over the course of time, now we've seen what they're doing in mass media. And let me explain what they're doing, all right? Because I still don't think people really understand the gravity of the situation. Before I do that, let me just say this. The scheme that they've perpetuated is a clever one. And it's kind of like the Trojan horse, where you're introducing something that looks very innocuous, and then they flip the script on you, and before you know it, you see that there was an agenda to it. Much like what we saw with Black Lives Matter. We thought it was for stopping police brutality against African-American males, or the deaths of African-American males, trying to find out that all their billions of dollars were funneled into the alphabet community. So this is the same thing that we see going on in Hollywood. All the Hollywood studios are suddenly deciding to adapt this so-called diversity which really means that what they want to do is um, push the LGBTQ community to the forefront in modern movies. And if that's what they want to do, that's fine. But the problem I have with it is done through a type of Trojan horse. You see, they're not upfront and honest in terms of their agenda. They say we're embracing diversity, and many people of color believe, oh, that means that there's more roles for people of color, but it's only more roles for people of color if they represent the alphabet community. It's not for straight Black men and straight Black women. And one of the biggest culprits of this, which is insidious, is BET, BET is one of the most immoral, corrupt stations out there, because they not only push this feminization of Black males, but the culture that they support is so demonic, is so depraved. And unfortunately, many African Americans thrive off mainstream media. They believe what they see. Hence is why you have you have a lot, not every, I shouldn't say, I don't want to generalize, of Black men and Black women. Black women want to be boss bitches. Black men think they're rappers, thugs. They've taken on that persona of what they're seeing in media. And it's not clicking in their head. That's not reality. That's not how the world works. The world works by international millionaires coming together to determine the fate of the planet. Not dressed in loud colors and wearing gold chains, gold teeth. That's not how the world works. Now, this insidious plan really goes back to depopulation. And I remember when I started to research this, I had a hard time believing that they wanted to rid the planet of people of color. I said, no, there's no conceit. But slowly but surely, as I dove into my research, I began to see it's true. And another question is, what do they have against people of color? Why are they implementing this insidious plan? What's wrong with them? Well, they know that their population is dwindling. They know that their numbers are decreasing. And you see the plans are being implemented at a speedy pace now, more than ever before. Most of the major films now are shitting on men in general, to push women to the forefront. You look at films like Ghostbusters, 2016, Terminator, so many. But what they're doing in the African American community is more insidious. When I was in film school, striving to get out there and break into Hollywood, I came on a shocking discovery that it wasn't about your talent. And this is a time when Matty Rich's film was out, Straight Outta Brooklyn, Spike Lee's film, She's Gotta Have It. I came to a shocking realization that it wasn't about talent, but they were picking specific individuals that they can use for their agenda to propel them to the spotlight. From that period came the hood films, the thug films, like Menace to Society, Boys in the Hood, and they all create a narrative. Black men are the enemy. Black people are worthless. And if you came with something that departed from the narrative, they put you on the peripheral. They ignored you. Now let's go to today. What we see today now is the next phase of their plan. See, what they're doing now is they're specifically using African American women and putting them against African American men, using these Black women as a proxy or using them to implement their plan. Bob, this has nothing to do with Nas X. Nas X doesn't make any decisions. He was picked. He operates through with the Illuminati. He doesn't make any decisions. This is not about Nas X, nor is it about Cardi B. So keep that in mind. If you're looking at the artists and not the hidden hand behind them, what's behind the curtain, then you're missing out on what's going on. And I made the point clear that all of Hollywood is on the same page doing the same thing. Well, what does that mean? You know, because the studios compete against each other for box office. So that tells you that the studios are working together, that they're taking their marching orders from someone that we don't see. And they don't play ball, they lose their funding for films. And the studio will go bankrupt. So the point I was saying was that they're specifically picking Black women to put in positions of power and to give them film deals. And the reason they're doing this is because they want these Black women to be the cannon fodder, to be out in the forefront so you can't attack the film. See, if a white male makes a film and creates a fictional character representing a Black man as the enemy, that white male will come under fire and the studio will come under fire. But because they know that people don't like to criticize Black women, this is now the case. So you have, you know, films come out like Candyman, where the Black character is vilified and seen as the enemy. They will go as far as to write, in terms of historical films, write fictional Black characters just so they can paint them as the enemy, even though it's not historically correct. And I believe the film came out which did this, which was a story of Harriet Tubman, which is called Harriet. And in the film, they created a vicious Black character whose goal was to stop Harriet, but more importantly, he wanted the money so that he could, from what I understand, get white women. Now remember, this character didn't historically exist, but they wrote it in the film. And of course, the producers or whatnot behind the production were Black women. So you're going to see more of this where they're picking Black women to be in positions of Hollywood, powerful positions to produce these films. And these films have a dangerous feminist agenda where they're always vilifying Black men. Hollywood is at war with Black men. Hollywood is at war with white men, all men in general, but specifically Black men. Hollywood is now producing films that actively make Black men look like rapists, murderers, drug dealers. And this is propaganda on par with films like The Original Birth of a Nation. When they released the new version of Birth of a Nation, which was not a bad film. I think it still had some Hollywood programming, but it was not a bad film. But what you find, what happened with that film, because the film had merit, and the character was a very, very strong Black male character. written and directed by this black man, Nate Parker. But what they did was they created dissension, and they had black women come against the film. They drummed up this campaign and pulled out this old accusation of rape by Nate Parker. So much so that it really crushed the box office receipts for this film. Now, the point is, whether you believe Nate Parker did it or not, to me, I don't care. Because a lot of people in Hollywood are corrupt anyway. But the point I'm trying to make is, and if he did, then he should be brought to justice. But the point that I'm making is, you're going to see the same pattern in Hollywood, them using black women to destroy black men. And they even will use black men against one another. I mean, I have nothing against some of these directors, but they are climbing the ladder in various dubious ways. If you look at Tyler Perry and the work he has produced for BET, it is obvious there's an agenda behind it. And he's just one among many in this industry. And they embrace the image that he creates in drag to make fun of black women. Because remember, the point of it all is that they don't want people of color on the planet. And they'll use whoever they can to further their means. Now, here's the problem. Obviously, we're aware of what they're doing. Well, in many cases, we're not, because I think black people are a little bit slow in picking up on this, or picking up on anything in general, because we're so distracted by mainstream media. They keep us distracted. We're so caught up in idol worship, cults of personality, that we don't see the plan being implemented in front of us. We look at Lizzo and we think people are attacking her, are fat shaming, because they create these new terms and definitions that are more confusing and are nothing but from George Orwell's book, 1984, Doublespeak. It's not fat shaming if you want people healthy. If you know that obesity exists in the African American community, why would you create someone like Lizzo unless you wanted to kill off a community? BET knows that there's a high rate of obesity in our communities, and diabetes and hypertension and heart disease. So what do? They create a character like Lizzo, which affords them the opportunity of getting rid of you. Now, the Wandering Sage brings up a very, very good point. The masculine character in Black Panther was killed off, just like the masculine character in the Avengers, Thanos, was killed off. What are they trying to tell you? Male toxicity, toxic males, toxic masculinity. I want you to understand, as I've always said, you're being conditioned and programmed mentally through microdosing, through the totalitarian tiptoe, so you can't see it coming. But you have to awaken your third eye and realize that they are programming you, and more importantly, programming your children. Lil Nas X went around to speak to the kids and promote a song, Old Country Road. And then as he did, they flipped the script and showed you his true nature, which is part of the Trojan horse, that he wanted to promote to kids an alternative lifestyle to Black children. This Trojan horse is how they implement their plan. This is why they're going back and redoing all the old films and race swapping and putting in alphabet community characters. They don't care about the alphabet community. Again, they're just using something as a means to their end. But the alphabet community thinks they care about them. No, what they do is they put groups against each other. They created this whole thing, this whole war where the alphabet community sees straight African-American men as the enemy. They created that narrative. They flamed the fires of dissent. That's what they did. And it's unfair. And it's bullying because you know that Black males cannot protect themselves. Black men don't have an organization out for their survival. That everywhere Black men turn, they're being attacked left and right, left and right. The government takes away programs for African-American men, my brother's keeper, and then funnels that into the alphabet community and to Black women. And you go along with it because they come up with these terms, ideas, labels. The government puts out individuals like Kamala Harris, who's the most inexperienced vice president, who even now is botching the job. But if you say something against her, as you would question any politician's background, then you're hating on Black women. They created that narrative during the election. If you ask what foreign policy experience she has, they say, why do you hate Black women? She's a sister girl, even though she's biracial. They played on the Black aspect or Black part of her so that Biden could win. And now what you have is a mentally incompetent president and an inexperienced vice president who's botching the job. But you really didn't have a choice because Trump wasn't any better. So the ruling elite tries to figure out, how can we get rid of Black people? And they say, we need to destroy the Black family. So we won't push family values, as the Black Lives Matter made it a point in their agenda to say that they're against the nuclear family. We'll destroy the Black family by introducing TV commercials where everything is interracial. And most of those commercials feature a Black woman with a white man. And you'll see historically when they had problem with races, what they do was they try to water down the race. See, Black men don't have strong organizations that get funding from the government like the alphabet community. So Black men don't have the money to put out commercials and movies that demonstrate that they are loving and competent. The propaganda machine says black men don't take care of their children, when we know a report was put out by the CDC that said black men are one of the only races that actively participate in the raising or actively wants to raise their kids more than any other race. That goes against the narrative that they're trying to push out there, that black men are abandoning their families and that black women are doing it alone. That's not true. Black men want to be a part of their children's lives, but they have to create that false narrative. Just like they created the false narrative to create a gender war that black women were the most educated. That's a lie. White women, clearly, white women are the most educated. And the next most educated are white men. The people who get into Harvard and Yale University are not black women, they're white women and white men. But when they come out with these articles, they're meant to slant the truth and to create a gender war. And Miss Precision, you are right. They are afraid to show you a loving black family. I don't know why they're like that. I can't understand why they're like that. That threatens them so much, because it's about reproducing, being fruitful and multiplying. They fear that loving black family. So you must understand, you're being played by mainstream media and you don't see it coming. Because if you did, we would take measures against it. Let me explain to you that the problem isn't Lil Nas X and 50 Cent and all these guys. It's the problem is in the people who aspire to be rappers, who aspire to break into the music industry. You're breaking into a corrupt industry. I'm not saying you shouldn't pursue your dream, but too many of you think you're rappers and thugs. You idolize these things that are for the detriment of the black community. And as I said before, they selectively pick people they want to put in the spotlight and push toward fame and fortune. And you won't be one of them that they pick. So you can aspire and dream all you want. It's not going to happen. You're not for their agenda. Unless you want to do like Lil Nas X and sign your soul away to the devil. You see, while we're afraid to practice magic, the ancient spiritual system of our ancestors, they're actively practicing magic behind closed doors. Look at Lil Nas X putting blood in his sneakers. That's magic. Yet you're so afraid to do the right thing and to adopt a spiritual way of life that encompasses your magic. This is why they're winning. And we are so enthralled by BET and the rap industry, we become programmed to be immoral people. I said it again, immoral people. We were the most moral people on the planet. But that now has flipped, because we have a steady diet of mainstream media. Instead of seeking out alternative media sources, we buy into the media programming, so much so that we want to go along with it and support it. We want to support the very system that's out for our destruction. I was listening to this YouTuber. He said he was talking to his son, and his son said that he wants to be a rapper. And the YouTuber wants to be a rapper too. It's not healthy for your kids to be saying things like that. That demonstrates that they're watching too much TV and too much media. And you too. There's a type of arrested development going on there. If you're a father, you're too old to be saying, I want to be a rapper. But that's what the programming does. It makes you have a myopic view of the world to where all you see is rap, gold chains. And that's all you aspire to be, which is materialism, which is one step closer to Satanism, which is their plan. Do you understand? You can't be against their programming and support it at the same time. You just can't. You can't talk about the ills of the industry, Lil Nas X, and yet want to be a part of that same industry. It's not going to work. When Malcolm X said during the death of JFK, the chickens are coming home to roost, he was trying to tell you something about the corrupt system itself and the people who are supporting that system. You cannot support feminism because it has very, very evil and sinister connections to Margaret Sanger, Nazis, the destruction of all men, specifically Black men. You cannot create your own form of Black feminism and think it's going to work because you are a right-brain person, integrated brain person. What does that mean? That means by very nature, you see all things as one. Whereas the Western mind is left brain and doesn't see all things as one. It sees opposition. Everyone's out to get me. I have to get them first. I have to destroy them. I have to depopulate the planet. You're dealing with a very select group, the oligarchy, sick in the mind. They are sick. They have no emotions in terms of empathizing with the world. They can destroy an entire population and not bat an eye. They don't care. They have genetically modified themselves so they don't have those type of emotions for humanity. See, God built into you, God, netaru, a safety mechanism within you that if you see or you do something that is so extreme, meaning the wiping out of a population, it will adversely affect you. You will feel it. And you will, in some way, shape, or form, correct yourself. But these individuals who are ruling the oligarchy have rid themselves of that safety mechanism so that they can bomb the Japanese, wipe out a population, enslave a population, and not have sympathy and empathy. See, they're not connected to God because they've severed that connection by polarizing themselves in the left brain. But God gave you the built-in connection to him or her through the right brain. And that connection is not severed. But you're drinking the Kool-Aid and it's causing a problem in your body. It's making you sick because you're supporting something that's out for your own destruction. Can't you see that? We all must strive to be moral. We all must strive to be godlike. I don't worship individuals. Sure, I love Steven Spielberg, George Lucas. But when you ask me, what is my highest aspiration? And that is to be the likeness of God. And to awaken my God power. You talk to these guys out here and they're like, well, I think 50 Cent is a brilliant businessman. 50 Cent is not a brilliant businessman. He has brilliant people around him, but he's not a brilliant businessman. You guys are watching too much mass media. Most of it is fake. The people are picked, they're appointed, they're given money. They're fake. But you believe them to be real. Lizzo was picked. She didn't work her way up because she was talented. She was picked to do her job, which was to promote an unhealthy lifestyle in the African American community, so that you would start eating, and then drop dead one day. That will fulfill their plan. Lil Nas X is telling you what he's all about, Satanism. But yet still he has followers. You know what that says? That says you're too far gone. And I believe that their goal is to program us to the point of where we'll actively fight for our own enslavement. We will not only help them build the new world order, but we'll beg them to be slaves. That's their goal. That's their plan, to condition us mentally to that point. And remember, it will not be done in one tidal wave, but it'll be done in microdosing. Slow introduction into that idea that, hey, maybe being a pedophile is not bad. To a point of where if you're not part of the alphabet community, you will be shamed for being straight. Now, there are those who are going to say, oh, you're against the alphabet community. Oh, absolutely not. But what I'm trying to tell them and you is that the ruling elite, the oligarchy, who is pitting us against each other, doesn't care about the alphabet community, doesn't care about Black people. They only care about themselves. And they'll use different groups, different individuals to further their agenda. If you want to have an alphabet group, that's fine and dandy. But then don't make this other group your enemy. In the story of Asar and Aset, the greatest thing it said Tahuti did was make the two combatant brothers go home in peace. So we should be living in harmony with all groups and not fighting each other. But they put out propaganda, press releases, narratives to create that fiction, that friction, to create rumors and dissent. This is what they do. They've been doing it for ages. Black men, white men, you are the target. They are coming after you. Black men, you're an endangered species. It's time that we turn back to the ancient wisdom of our ancestors and start putting that into practice. This is why they put these agents out there in the Black community so that they could vilify the Kemetan spiritual system. They saw that we were gravitating toward it and it was helping us. So they said, we've got to put our agents out there who will pretend to be Kemetic leaders. And then you come to find out that most of them are living foul because they're agents. The Trojan horse. They come from the grassroots of our community, pretend to be teaching about Kemetic philosophy. And then all of a sudden you find out they're pedophiles and that they're conning our people, raping and pillaging the community. I'm going to say it again, the Trojan horse. That's how they operate. While the good guys you call coons, you call agent provocateurs, because your thinking is backwards. And the worst thing they do is to create these organizations backed by your philanthropists like George Soros. And you think these organizations are out for your best interest, and then you come to find out they've been working against you. And I'm talking about grassroots organizations. I'm talking about organizations like the Nation of Islam. It's called controlled opposition. They create these organizations which you support because you think it stands for justice. And what these organizations do is keep you in check. So when you say, hey, we should actually pool our money together and buy a factory. No. We're not going to do that. We should pool our money together and buy a franchise of supermarkets to feed the Black community. No, we're not going to do that. We're just going to march. We're going to march. We're going to march on Washington. Okay, what's our agenda? Nothing, no agenda. We're just going to march. Wait a minute, we're not going to do voter registration. We're not going to collect funds to buy communities and neighborhoods. No. We're just going to march. Okay. And so, because you're caught up in symbolism, you think marching is progress. Because you're not doing anything. You see, I could not be on these panels on the internet. The panels would talk about what's going on with this feminist agenda in the movies. And on these panels, these Black men, very intellectual, PhDs, all of that, were basically uncovering the secret agenda. Kudos to them. But I went in every one that I went on to be interviewed, I asked the essential question. And no one could answer the question. And in some of the channels, I got booted off for asking the question. You know what that question was? You know what that question was? Okay, now that we know, here's the question. Here's the question. Now that we know what the agenda is, what are we going to do about it? What are we going to do about it? They had no response. You see, too many on YouTube are having their what is it called? 3 minutes of fame by having their little talk shows. All these Black men and Black women coming out with their little talk shows. But yet it's all talk. It's intellectual masturbation. Just take a moment and say, please hit the like button on the video. Please hit the like button. And if you get an opportunity, donate to the channel. Your donation would be appreciated. When one of the African priests I studied with became a member of the Black Panther Party, he went in and they asked his opinion on what they should do. And he said, well, you gotta stop with the drugs, the disrespecting of the women. We have to eat healthy. They immediately kicked him out. They're like, oh no, you gotta go. So when I asked that question, well, what are we gonna do about it? We're gonna organize? Let me know time and place. We're gonna start a change.org campaign. We're going to go to Washington to lobby for better organizations and better films. What are we going to do? You see, they're okay with talking about the problem, but they're not okay with actually fixing it, with actually taking action. And that's the problem today, especially with the millennials. Social currency has become the thing to seek after. How many likes? How many followers? Now, that's a great starting point. But then you've got to take it to the next level and be active in change. When I was in the priesthood and a problem that came up, we would immediately galvanize to do a mass ritual. That's what you should be doing. I'm not saying that that's the only way to go about things, but I'm saying it's taking an active role in making change. We've gotten into a paralysis of analysis, just overanalyzing the problem, but never taking action to do anything about it. I don't care what your opinion of Louis Farrakhan is, but when you look at the time he has been the leader of the Nation of Islam, you have to ask important questions. What have you done, actually? Have you created a franchise of supermarkets? Have you actually purchased land that we can now move to? Have you bought a food factory that can give jobs to people in the community? What have you actually done? That's what they do with CEOs of companies. They look and say, you know what? This quarter, you've really done a great job. You've increased profit. And then that CEO gets a bonus, gets stock options. But when we ask members of our community to be accountable, if they give a great speech, a prophetic speech, then we say, oh yeah, they're making progress. Wait, they didn't say anything. They just gave a great speech and everybody applauded. Yeah, we're making progress. Yeah, we're making progress. No, we're not. He just made a speech. That's all he said, a speech. That's a great point. What happened to the 10-year economic plan? What happened to that? Black Lives Matter. We make marches. Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. Police are still shooting at us. What did they do? Where did the billions of dollars go? And what did they change? What did they do? Not a damn thing. Did they introduce legislation for police reform? No, they did nothing. They did nothing. And then people walk around with BLM t-shirts. Are you wooed by a simple slogan? Where is the change? What is wrong with you people to where you don't understand that you have to have tangibles, not rhetoric? Every year when something major happens, you have Farrakhan come out in his bow tie. Assalamu alaikum. We must fight those who come against us in God, whether it be the police officers and those in Washington. And our fruit of Islam will stand in the way to prevent them from hurting our communities. Everybody goes, yay! He's so good a speaker, yay! But no plan. No plan. You see, Most of our elected leaders, when something happens that's in the media, they're quick to speak to get media attention on them, but they're not actually out there to change anything, to do anything. I'm going to say something. I'm going to give you guys a perfect example. Listen to what I am saying. And I'm going to end with this, but listen to what I'm saying clearly. And I hope to God it makes sense to you. I'm going to tell you how weak we are, how frail we have become, to where they can go after Cosby for so-called sexual allegations that happened years ago. And if he's guilty, then I hope, justice comes his way. But to show you how weak and confused we are, that little boy, Emmett Till, was murdered just from the word of a white woman who lied. And this very same white woman was interviewed for a book where she admitted she lied. And this very same white woman is still alive today. Yet I see pictures all over my social media stream of Black people holding guns, automatic weapons. We're ready. George Zimmerman is not hiding. The woman who lied against Emmett Till is not hiding. If you're ready, there you go. That's how we start. You see, you cross the mob, you cross the Italian mafia. See, they take care of their own, which is how it should be. We take care of our own. But we don't take care of our own. We let the world walk all over us. The architects of civilization now living in the ghettos and the gutter because we're too afraid to stand up. We're too afraid to invoke justice against those who have crossed us. We're too afraid. We're frightened. But yet, in places like Chicago, we'll kill our own brothers and sisters at the drop of a dime. At the drop of a dime. You stepped on my sneakers, my Jordans, I'm going to kill you. But yet, Klan leaders who are old, who have participated in lynchings, are still alive, and we know who they are, and no one does anything. Have we brought them to justice through the judicial system? Absolutely not. We've done nothing. Has BLM gone after Emmett Till's, the white lady that lied? No. Has BLM gone against those individuals who started and burned down Black Wall Street? No. BLM that collected billions of dollars could have done something similar to the Innocence Project and put together a legal defense fund or a legal fund that could go in and get these brothers and sisters out of jail who've committed nonviolent acts. But have they? No, not at all. No, done nothing. What are we doing, people? Let me ask you this question. What are we doing? What the hell is going on? I want to know. Even God wants to know. What are you doing? I don't understand. Can someone tell me, what are we doing? Because we certainly are not fighting for our freedom and liberation. We're not. George Zimmerman is signing Skittles and signing guns and bullets and selling them. And we keep taking photos of us with guns and this and that. Let me explain something to you. George Zimmerman did not post guns himself, photos of him with guns, because when it came time to act, he used his weapon. He was not afraid to use his weapon. But we are. We're afraid to defend ourselves. Yeah, I said it. We're afraid to defend ourselves in the face of what clearly is injustice. Clearly an injustice. Meanwhile, other groups, if you dare say anything against them, any little thing against them, you either sued, you get fired from your job, they discredit you in the media. But with us, you can go on and call us all kinds of names, and we'll do nothing against that. We'll do nothing to stop that. In many cases, we'll join with them. I want to thank you all for attending today. If you get an opportunity, please donate to the channel. And I hope this message finds you in good health. This is Qesankh Keperu, son of Ma'at and Tahuti. Ma'at is a beautiful goddess Heteru. Until my next video, Amun Ra.